Hello, Booktube. This is Aaron from Aaron Read a Book or Aaron Read a Book. Doing a Friday reads. This month is one of my favourite months on Booktube because it's much Mystery Madness amongst many other events. I didn't have a channel last March, so I'm excited to get loads of mysteries in. I'm going to probably try and do a mammoth as well, but I thought I'd do a TBR, sort of vague TBR for both of them, and maybe I'll hit some of the other read-alongs, readathons as well along the way. But we'll start with March Mystery Madness. We'll start with the Queen of March Mystery Madness, and that is Agatha Christie. Obviously, I'm already a big Agatha Christie fan. I've read quite a lot of her stuff before. I've not read The Pale Horse, and I think it's a standalone. And I think there was recently it's a standalone, and there was recently a TV adaptation of this one. So it interests me. If you've read this one, let me know, because I think I've seen some fairly not too positive ones on reviews on Booktube on Goodreads for this one, so it just put me off a little bit. I've got another Agatha Christie. This one I'm a bit more excited about, and that's 450 from Paddington. I saw Steve Donahue talking about this one, and it's about someone seeing two trains passing each other, and someone seeing a crime happening on the other train. Again, I think it's a standalone. No, it's a Miss Marple. Good. I need to read more Miss Marples, so I will definitely be reading this one. I've only read one or two Miss Marples, so that's a good one to go for. Next, we've got an author I will be talking about again very soon. This is The Scapegoat by Daphne du Maurier. Her books don't always, you wouldn't think of them as traditional mysteries, but there is always some mystery element to them, and this one I believe is about identical strangers, which I don't think I've ever read a book about before, so that sounds interesting. My mum gave me this one and she said she really liked it, but my mum only kind of reads Daphne du Maurier or VC Andrews, I think, so I take her with a pinch of salt, but it sounds interesting. Let me know if you've read this one. Next, we've got part 2 in the series of I've already forgotten the guy's name, Wexford, Inspector Wexford. I read the first one recently, really enjoyed it, so it's a no-brainer, part 2, and it's a short little thing, Ruth Rendell, so I should fly through this one, and I hear the Wexford ones get better and better as well, so that's good to know. Next, we've got part 1 in the series, and that is Elizabeth George The Great Deliverance. I've heard very good things about Elizabeth George. Everyone on Booktube seems to love her, so look forward to getting to this one. This is probably another definite one that I'm going to read. Next is another part 2, and that is Brother Cadfael. This is an omnibus edition of the first 3 or 4, I think. Yeah, the first 3. So I've already read last March Mystery Madness, A Morbid Taste for Bones, which I really liked, and this next one's called One Corpse Too Many. Brother Cadfael's a medieval monk who investigates murders, which is right up my alley. I love medieval stuff, and it kind of fits in with the Welsh readathon. I can't remember the name of it now, but he's a Welsh character, so it kind of fits in with that as well. Right, I need to find a place to put this giant book. The next thing I'm thinking about is mammoths. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do a mammoth, but gradually over the month. So like leave myself lots of time to read mysteries. I've been telling myself for months that I'm going to read this Vanity Fair, which is a real chunkster, and everyone seems to like it. But I've had my head turned a little bit by BookTube. I've seen people reading Shogun, and I've got Shogun on Kindle, so I'm split between the two. I might read the first sort of couple of pages of both of them and see what I'm in the mood for. But Gem of Books really did a great review of Shogun, and now I really want to read it. I'll leave that in the comments. So that's my TBRs. What have I been reading? I mentioned Daphne du Maurier, and for good reason. I've been reading her second most famous novel, My Cousin Rachel. I loved this. It was really good. The beginning's so good. Like the first half especially is really good. I don't think it's as good as Rebecca. It's very close. It's not as good as Rebecca for me. I think the main character's a tiny bit too annoying. Basically, the plot of this is it's from the perspective of a young man who's around. Well, it goes through his childhood a little bit, but for most of the novel, he's 24 years old, and he's an orphan who lives with his cousin. I think it's his cousin. Yes, or uncle? No, I think it's cousin. His older cousin Ambrose in Cornwall. Guess all definitely Bormiers are in Cornwall, and they're farmers, and they're kind of misogynists. They just live alone. They say some very nasty things about women, and then Ambrose gets kind of sick. He's a lot older than the main character. What's the main character's name again? Philip. I'm so bad with names. I literally finished this like 2 hours ago. Philip is, yeah, Ambrose is a lot younger and older, and he starts to get a bit ill. Goes to the continent to take the sun, as everyone seemed to do back in the olden days. You'd go away for the weather, and he meets their cousin Rachel in Italy, and Ambrose is meant to come back after the summer, but he never comes back, and he writes some letters that cast some suspicion on Rachel, and Philip hates Rachel, and then all of a sudden Rachel turns up, and Rachel's a brilliant character. She's always referred to My Cousin Rachel all through the book. It's brilliantly done. But yeah, it's again one of those. She's so good at sort of psychological mysteries where one character kind of haunts over another. Perfectly done in Rebecca, where the character isn't even alive. In this, the character is alive. It's Rachel. The only thing that kind of put me off it being as good as Rebecca, as I think I said, the main character makes some slightly questionable decisions. You could say he's like 24. This much older woman comes, and you think you give 24-year-olds some leeway, but and plus they've never had real contact with a woman before, only a younger girl. But yeah, it throws you about. Nothing happened that I thought was going to happen, and yeah, it's brilliantly done. Highly recommend. I'm probably going to read The Scapegoat maybe next. I've read Jamaica Inn, House on the Strand, Rebecca, and now this, but I haven't read The House on the Strand or Rebecca for years, so I really need to reread both of those. I also finished my Terry Pratchett book, Snuff. This is the final book in the City Watch series by Terry Pratchett, his Discworld novels. I wouldn't say it's up there with the best City Watch ones, but it's still the City Watch. It's still a really fun and good message as well. So Pratchett's always good with that sort of thing. Like there's a lot of these City Watch books introduce a new race into the police force. So there's werewolves, golems, whatever Nobby Nobs is, and in this, it's really a story of goblins, and I love the little goblins in this. They're really cute and well done. And you're with Sam Vines the whole time, so it's a great time. But yeah, I would never start with this one. Start from the beginning of the guards, go all the way through, and you'll have a great time with all of them. And the other thing I read was just a tiny little thing, which was So Late in the Day by Claire Keegan, and this was about 30 or 40 pages. Doesn't really even count as a book. It's really a short story, and this felt much more modern than the other Claire Keegans I've read, where Foster and Small Things Like These felt a bit, I think they were like set in the 50s and 60s. This one feels more modern, and again it's following as a kind of misogynist character who meets a woman much like My Cousin Rachel, but with very different styles. But yeah, Claire Keegan's a beautiful writer, and even though this is 30 or 40 pages, you still get a wonderful portrait of the characters. And if you fancy any short stories, definitely check her out. Well, I think that's me, BookTube. The other thing I'm reading at the moment, the only thing I'm reading is I'm experimenting again with an audiobook. I managed to get through the Alan Partridge one and enjoyed it. So I thought I'd try a proper book this time, not like a character reading out his own character. So this I'm reading A Prayer for the Crown Shy, which is the second book in the Monk and Robot story by Becky Chambers. And the audiobook, I'm doing okay with it. The different thing about the Alan Partridge one is the Alan Partridge one's all Alan Partridge. This one is one narrator doing the different voices, and I find it a lot easier with the dialogue to keep track of it than one character all the time. So I think I might be able to do audiobooks. I don't know. I've never been able to do them in the past, but I did try first with the history book, and I was struggling with that. Tom Holland's A Persian Fire. It was I had to concentrate on it too hard, and I find I can only concentrate on them when I'm walking from one place to another that I know very well. And if I have to think about anything else at all, I completely lose concentration. And it's quite hard with The Prayer for the Crown Shy because everyone in that uses they them pronouns. So if you miss who it's talking about, you don't know who it is because it could be the monk, the robot, or a plural. So I have to concentrate on that a lot. But I'm enjoying it so far. I really enjoyed the first one. They're very sweet, sort of philosophical science fiction, and it's this one. The monk and robot are going back into society. In the first book, they were like out in nature, and this one they're going back into society, and the monk's kind of teaching the robot about how humans live now because there was a big split like hundreds of years ago and no one's seen a robot in hundreds of years. Very typical optimistic Becky Chambers sci-fi, but very enjoyable. But yeah, that's me, BookTube. Let me know what you're reading for March Mystery Madness. If you've read any of the Agatha Christie's, the Daphne du Maurier, the Ruth Rendell, the Elizabeth George. I'm particularly interested in Elizabeth George, and The Pale Horse, if you like that one. Should I read Vanity Fair or Shogun? Let me know. And what if you're doing much the Mammoths? Let me know. Have a good one, BookTube. Bye bye.